Hello, my name's Lindsay, and I'm going to talk about my toad medicine, um, Bofu 5-MeO experience. I took that probably in December, like, I think it was the day after Christmas of 2025. So I actually didn't know what to expect at all. Like I looked it up online. I got referred technically from my somatic therapist. And yeah, she just kind of said like it's like a plant medicine journey. But yeah, so I didn't know what to expect, but for me, yeah, I guess I'll go over like how it was set up, and then I'll talk about what actually happened for me during the experience. So it was set up like with somebody that did the journey. She said that she did like thousands of them before with other people in the past, and she like worked with I want to say like psychiatrist or psychologist or something that like she would reference with just to make sure that like diagnosis wise it was going to be okay. So she did a long like interview process with me like beforehand. Like she was very thorough, called me maybe like 3 4 times, like talked for, you know, 30 to 60 minutes each time, and was like going over like what's your, history like with mental health and plant medicine and, you know, spirituality, or just like where are you coming from, what are your prior diagnoses, and just kind of like screening, have you ever had like bipolar or schizophrenia or psychotic symptoms or just anything like that. And then, so I felt very like safe going into it because she kind of like went over all of that. And she really explained like what it's supposed to do and the function of it, like how it, rewires your brain afterwards. And, it can really like break patterns that you've had. It can dissolve the ego, like, any of the defense mechanisms that you would have normally. Like if they're really kind of like stubborn and stuck, like it can truly change that entirely. And she just kind of went over all of that, which I felt like good about because I was like, okay, well, at least she's kind of being thorough. So I get into it, and it was in like a small studio apartment. I paid her like $300 cash, which wasn't a lot. And I did like 3 sessions in the same day, or 3 doses or whatever in the same day. And yeah, so I started out with a small dose, and you know, she had me do a bunch of like breathing exercises just to get me in a kind of calmer place, and then also like so the lungs were emptied. And then she put the like the thing to smoke it up to your mouth, and she held it and like lit it on fire and whatever. And you had to like breathe it in as deep as possible, and hold your mouth so that you don't cough any of it out. So the first one was apparently like a small dose, just to see how it would affect me. And she said that it was like more grounded, probably, like you would still be like in your body, a little bit. And so when I did it, it was, it's gonna be hard to describe because it was so like crazy, just in a good way. Like it was very mystical, like just being with the universe. Like it kind of reminds me of like how people describe like near-death experiences, kind of like just what it was like I took the hit, I covered my mouth, and then immediately everything around me was like immediately calm and like energy, just like no objects existed really. Like the room wasn't like wasn't there, like in my mind it wasn't there really, like we were just like floating in energy in space. And I felt an immediate wave intensely and constant of love, just so pure, like unconditional love. And then it was like crying, like I was starting to cry, right? But of course, with the defense mechanisms that I learned and had, for me it was super hard to cry, like to let the crying happen. Like my brain was still holding on to like, we can't cry right now, like this is, we're gonna try to like resist it, you know. So I had the crying, and I had like a slightly tense like throat, like my throat was like tensing, and and that's a pretty common feeling that I used to have all the time, is just my throat shutting. And that happened. And then at the same time as those things were going on, I was getting this kind of like perception that I was like a baby. I was just, you know, in this situation as a baby where I had run into a vase. I cracked my head open. One of my eyebrows has a scar. You can't see it now because they're microbladed, tattooed over, but there used to be a scar in my eyebrow, and I was just feeling like I was in the operating room and they were trying to stitch my scar, and I was just like screaming and crying and like not trusting, like not letting it happen. And at the same time, there was this like major sense of like calm and peace, and like my older self, like it was like my 50-year-old self was also present, like, oh, you're calm like this now. But that past self was like there at the same time as my current self was perceiving all of that, and my future self was there at the same time. And then I was also getting this perception of like the trauma that I experienced at the same time. So again, I was kind of like a child, but it was like a later period. And I remember like, I was just like thinking like, oh, mom is there. She doesn't care. She's upset. My stepdad's sexually abusing me, and oh my God, my dad died and no one's here to protect me. And it was like panic was coming up, but also like the crying was coming up. And then I started screaming. But again, it was hard because my psychological defenses were like, do not scream. Like, do not fucking scream right now. or cry, you know, like either one. And it was simultaneously perceiving like the woman that was doing the experience for me, like with me, she was in the room. And it was like, oops, she's gonna watch us screaming, she's gonna watch us crying, that's not safe. Do not do that, that's so embarrassing, that's so bad, do not do this, do not do this. And so it was tough for me. And this, by the way, this woman said too that it's like every single person has a different experience with the toad medicine. Like not every single time is it the same. It's always different. So this was just my experience only. But yeah, so that was the first session, which again was like a very small amount. So then, you know, I was coming back online and it was intense. Like, I mean, I felt like almost like, you know, I don't know if you've ever, like if you're listening, you've ever done like shrooms or something like that, but it's like a crazy, like body uncomfortable feeling. And I was just like going like this, like a bunch of times, like I was just like, ugh, like I couldn't like it was so hard to like just feel these physical feelings at the same time. But then I was coming out of that and I came back. And the high only lasts like maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15, 20 at the most. Like she was like, it's only gonna last that long. So anyway, then we do the second session, like pretty soon after that. I went to the bathroom, came back, and we're doing the second session. And it's much stronger. So it carries me deep into just being completely disconnected from my body at this point. And my mind was trying so hard to hold on. It's almost like it wouldn't let me dissolve. It would not allow it. It wouldn't let me let go. It wouldn't let me trust. Like, so what was happening for me was like, I'm like feeling super disconnected from my body. So if you have, you know, an ego based upon defense mechanisms based upon control for safety, you know, it for me it was very, very tough, like very tough. So the love was coming in even more at this point, and it was unbearable almost. Like my system was like, this is unconditional love, like this is what it feels like, and it knew that too. Like it was just like, this is what it feels like. I've never felt this before in my life. And it was like, at the same time, the trauma was getting so realized that it was severe. It was like, this is love, this was not love, this is horrifying, and I feel so bad for myself. Like self-compassion was coming in strong, and I was fucking screaming at the top of my lungs, crying. And at the same time, my brain was trying to stop it. Do not scream, do not cry, do not show this emotion. And it was, my throat was at this point severely gripping. Like if someone had like a vice, like just closing the throat. And it was severe. Like it was like painful beyond belief. And all I could do was just focus on this pain. And I tried to like let it go. And the thing was I was trying to release and let go, but that would just make it worse. So in a way, what it kind of was like kind of like ping pong in a way. Like it would be like, okay, the trauma's really bad. Oh my God, I feel so bad for myself. I'm screaming, I'm crying. And I was screaming, no, 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 like over, like severely higher than that, and struggle. And it was insanely amount of severe pain. And then it would be like, do not have this, like shut it off, shut it off. And then it would be like, okay, why can't I shut it off? Why can't I just like allow it? And then it would be like, no, 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 we need to shut it off. And then it would be like, no, we just got to allow it. And then it'd be like, no, 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 we need to shut. And then it was just like boom, 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 but like all the whole time it was just like boo, 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 like it was constantly going between all of these things. And it was like, ooh, why are we so bad and mentalizing everything, and we need to just let go and just get into the body, and then we'd get in the body for 1 second, and then it would be like, nope, we can't get in the body. Like, so it felt like annihilation, kind of like suffering. But I think, to be honest, I think that's what I was dealing with underneath all the defenses that I had, So anyway, I do that, and then we do that a second time, like I said. So I did three in a row. The last one was similar, basically the same thing as the second one. And then she started like talking to me, right? Like the facilitator. So when she would talk, it was like you just are hearing the voice of God and the universe, like in your body. Like it's not like she was probably standing to the right of me, just, standing there and like saying certain things. Like she was like, you've held this burden for a long time. You're doing great. You've taken good care of yourself. Like, she was kind of saying things like that. But it was like getting into my body. And it was even more like loving, It's like, to me, what that is like, the best way I can describe that is, I've done so many guided meditations and, energy work and stuff like that, where you're talking to the universe and the universe is talking to you, or not talking to you, but you can feel the energy shifting in your body. It would be like the universe talking back to you and saying things like, you've held this burden for so long, you're taking such good care of yourself, and like feeling it throughout your entire being, like in your bones, in your body, just in your soul. And that was, oh my God, that was like almost unbearable at the time, because it was unconditional love, which was terrifying for my system, and also very difficult to take in, because then I'd have to realize how bad the trauma was at the same time, Oh man, but it was good. It was like unbelievable, like that part of it. And then she'd like fan me with like a feather thing that she had. I remember seeing it before I sat down and did the Bofu, and that felt amazing. Oh my God. And like she'd come over to me every now and then and say things like, just think of what you want. And I would, for like a second, I'd be able to think, oh yes, I want, abundance, or I want peace, I want love. And then my body would just like latch back into like, the defenses once again. So yeah, I mean, but at the end of that session. It was the final one. And she wanted me to do a fourth. She was like coming over and she was like, let's do this again. And I was like, no, 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 no. No. I could not do it at the time. And she was like, okay, just instead of saying no, just say not at this time. I'm not open to it at this time, but maybe another time. Because she was saying it's important to remain open. And I was like, okay, okay. So at the end of that session, I literally felt, as I was coming back, a bunch of hands tucking me in, like God's hands tucking me in to the blanket that I was in. And that was fucking amazing. That was like, yeah, like you're being supported right now. So anyway, I come back online and it's over, but that was my experience with it. But ever since then, my life has changed so much. I mean, before going on it, I was like constantly seeking trauma bonds, like constant. Like I would meet a guy and he'd be like, yep, like I'm a sociopath, like, yep, I'm a narcissist. I gaslight people. And I'd be like, yes, please let me date you, please. Like I couldn't even tell, like my inner child was like latched to this and this attachment, these attachment issues and this trauma bonding and trying to, see love through that. And it was only believing that that's what existed. Before that, I didn't even know what love was at all. And now it's like my brain knows that unconditional love is real and it's feels like that. And now I know that. So now I have so much more trust in my path. Like it was almost like before, I was seeing things in a very limited way. Like you only see the bad, you only see like, you basically just try to like control everything by yourself. And you don't trust anyone or anything. And everything is horrible because you're just isolated and crumbling. And now I trust, the universe. I trust in spirit, whatever it is, God, whatever, just, however you want to say it. I fully trust in that. And it's like, that, before I was suicidal all the time, always felt ugly, hated myself, felt fat, disgusting, horrible, piece of shit. All day in my head was, you're not good enough, you're just worthless, like everyone hates you, you're such a burden, like, so it changed that. I do not feel that whatsoever anymore. I was prior attached still to my abusers and like minimizing everything and saying like, oh, it's just my mom, like she can be nice, she can be sweet, like it's just me, like I'm the problem, like no, like it told me the truth. The Bofu told me the truth, as hard as it was to come to that, but I'm so grateful because I would have been stuck in that probably forever, to be honest. It felt like before the energy of like, I felt so stuck, like it was like having a bunch of like mud just on you all the time, just like clawing at you from the ground and just trying to pull you down like all the time. And now I feel like I can fly. Like I literally feel like I can do anything, which is wild to say, but in the integration process, and she gave me a bunch of resources on that too, like how to rewire your brain, how to rewire your subconscious after that, how to, start talking to yourself in a kind, compassionate way. and to connect with your body and, you know, feed yourself good things and all of this. And I can't even tell you, like, I am not depressed anymore. I'm still slightly anxious, like I can tell, because like I still have like I get like shortness of breath, and I still feel anxious, but I know that that's because I'm still living close to my like abusers, and it's like in my mind it's like, okay, they're really close by, and I don't like that, and that's, you know, whatever. But and I'm sure there's other reasons for that too. But I can actually like believe that things can work out for me. Like it's safe to like think positively now, you know? Yeah. And it's, I would recommend it to anyone that's like wants like a huge like life change. And like, you know, she said too, like I think she said it's kind of hard to do that for people that have like psychosis, I think, or like mania as well. But yeah, I forget exactly, to be honest, so don't take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But I would say, yeah, just like if you want like a life change and it's something that would be safe for you to do, like, oh yeah, big time. Because before this, I would say barely anything like helped this much. So, except for, you know, of course, people and somatic therapy, but yeah, I'm so grateful. I know, like, now that I can, like, be happy and live a life that's full of love, and I can actually see myself for who I really am, and my intuition is on board. I don't doubt myself anymore like I used to. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. If you're thinking about it, hopefully it goes well, and I appreciate you listening.